What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex and in today's video we are talking about control unit freaking adaptations. I'm also going to talk to you about a couple of weird problems with my E55. And I'm going to give you guys generally some information on some issues that you can see when modifying any M113K engine. That is 60. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, and I have some footage from a couple weeks ago when I tried to film this very video and my car broke. Now, something you guys may not know is that this is my first go round at modifying a Mercedes. I've modified a bunch of other cars, but as a dealership technician, we just fixed normal cars. So I'm learning a ton of stuff while modifying this car, just like you guys are. So let's get to the weird issues that I've been having with my car. Now, some of you guys may know that I kicked off a build series on this last year, and in that build series I did a few modifications, like we did a larger heat exchanger, a pretty cool water/ice tank underneath the hood, then we did a bigger coolant pump and a bigger throttle body, a smaller supercharger pulley, a water methanol injection kit, and a Race IQ tune, and all was well with the world until I did the 82mm throttle body and the 76mm pulley in the tune. Now, immediately after that job, I started to experience two things. Now, one of them is kind of normal. Here's the footage. And so you can see that there's like a very harsh engagement of the supercharger clutch. Now, this is an electronic clutch, so when you go to a smaller pulley, you're gonna get a harsher engagement because all of a sudden you have a faster spinning, smaller pulley just engaging like that. So this was kind of normal, especially when cold out, and I wasn't too worried about it because it went away when the engine warmed up. But what was really annoying, and something that was really hard to catch on video, is the fact that just normally driving around town, there was like a bog down after every shift. So basically it would make the shift, RPMs would drop, the shift was fine, and then it felt like I was letting off the gas for a split second and then getting back into it. And this would happen 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, but just normally driving around town, wide open throttle was totally fine. So I spoke to the tuner, Tony, over at Race IQ. He sent me over a couple other tunes. They didn't really do much, and he had suggested that I had an air leak, which is something that I had mentioned in the video when I did the throttle body on how important it is that you replace every single gasket when you take the supercharger apart on these cars. If not, you will have air leaks and they'll cause a hiccup, they'll cause check engine lights, like a P0505 or P0456 are very common codes when you have an issue like this, and your car will run bad and all that kind of stuff. Mine had really none of that. It ran perfectly fine, no codes ever. I drove it like 1,000 miles with no codes. So I smoke tested everything, where you inject smoke from a machine into the intake system, the supercharger in this case, and you watch to see if smoke comes out, and there was nothing. So I was totally at a dead end, so I decided just to take the supercharger off again, take it apart, see if I could find something. I did that. I didn't find anything. So while I was in there, I deleted the secondary air injection system, which doesn't matter when you have headers on there. And that's why my check engine light is on, by the way. I got to get that tuned out. Put it all back together, and it was the exact same thing. So I swapped out to the stock 74mm throttle body, and the problem persisted. Now, this is when Lucas Edge from Race IQ reached out to me, and he had a suggestion, and this is when we're going to start talking about control unit freaking adaptations. Lucas suggested that I disconnect the battery for like 10 minutes and then take it out for kind of a specific drive cycle, which was essentially like beating the crap out of my car. That's what he wanted me to do. Now, control unit adaptations, for you guys that don't know, that's the ability of the car's engine computer or transmission computer to adjust to your drive style.
It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It keeps growing and changing, like it has a mind of its own. This can't be happening.
Skynet defense system now activated.
I knew all about this from the dealer. We would reset adaptations all the time for drivability concerns. And I had also reset the control unit adaptations at the dealership with the proper Mercedes diagnostic equipment for the transmission and the engine control unit. But I didn't realize how important a very specific and hard drive cycle was needed on these cars to really make it learn your driving style. And I think this really only applies to modified M113K engines because I'd seen a million stock cars that never had these types of issues. So basically, this is what I did. This is what Lucas had me do. I disconnected the battery. At first, I warmed up the engine. Then I disconnected the battery for like 10 minutes and immediately threw it into drive. I found like a good open road, and from a dead stop, I did 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 at quarter throttle. Then I came to another dead stop. I did the exact same thing, but at a half throttle, and I did that twice. Then the next time I just went balls to the wall, tried to, get traction, which is basically impossible. But I basically just beat the crap out of the car, and then I took it out on the highway and just kind of went to town, wide open throttle, through shifts and everything, and I just kind of beat it up for about 10 minutes or so, and I'll be damned, it totally fixed the problem with the 74mm throttle body. There was no more bogging down. I was completely amazed when Lucas first told me to do this. I'm like, dude, this isn't my first rodeo. This isn't going to do anything. I've already reset adaptations a couple times and it did nothing. But giving it that beat down, that drive cycle, made the car learn, basically how I was driving it, and it fixed it. Now, I will say this, I went back to the 82mm throttle body and I did the exact same thing over again, and I'll say that it's 50% better. Now, when it's cold, it's still doing this. And this kind of brings me to another point, and that is that when you get into modifying these cars, you do eventually need kind of like a real tune. So there's nothing wrong with the off-the-shelf kind of box tunes that you get if you're doing like exhaust and maybe just a pulley. But when you start getting into the throttle body stuff, and some bigger modifications, a real tune is always recommended. So what I did, it's great. It's fixed about 50% of the problem, and it's totally free. So you guys should definitely try this if you're having an issue like mine. But there is still a little bit of this bogging down with the 82mm throttle body. So I think these larger throttle bodies kind of exaggerate issues. So in speaking with Tony from Race IQ, he's going to be in Chicago anyway pretty soon. So he's going to drive the car and then also tune the car on the dyno. And we're pretty confident that we're going to get this ironed out perfectly. But I'll definitely keep you guys updated. So with that being said, guys, I don't want you to think that this is going to fix a real problem with your car. Do not think that. First thing to do if you're having a hiccup, check engine light rough running, obviously scan the car for codes. If you get anything related to air leaks, you got to look over the seals. And if you're going to take your supercharger apart, you have to replace everything, including that donut seal around the bypass valve. That is probably the most common area of leakage on these engines. And also that secondary air injection system. If you have headers and no cats, you might as well delete that too, because that can leak as well. So with that being said, what does this car do 0 to 60? Let's take a look at the full clip there, and then I'll show you my car braking when I was filming this very video. Alrighty, 55, let's see what you got. A lot of tire spin, and that is 60. 4.8. Oh, that's horrible. Stock is like 4.5. I just cannot hook up. All right, we're gonna try comfort mode, see if starting in second helps out at all. Feels a little better. That's 60. 4.4, all right. We beat out stock E55 0 to 60 time. Comfort mode for the win. So yeah, comfort mode helped out, but this is still really bad. Traction is a huge issue on cold drag radials, and yeah, I need to practice. So if you guys have any suggestions on how to launch this thing better on the street, let me know. With street tires, I mean, it's just sliding around everywhere. But I'm excited to go to the track, warm these tires up, and see what the best 0 to 60 is on this car. I'm hoping I can get somewhere in the 3-second range. This is me filming the video a couple weeks ago. I think I'm wearing the exact same shirt. I don't have that big of a wardrobe. So check this out. What happened there was the alternator took a crap. Now, I'd replaced this about a month ago with a Bosch factory unit, and it just was defective, I guess, after a couple hundred miles. So it was overcharging. That beep sound that you heard was every single light on the dash going off and going nuts. It was charging at 17.5 volts or something like that. It would get up to 17 volts. It was crazy, and that's kind of dangerous for the whole car. So obviously FCP Euro sent me out another Bosch alternator. I put it in and everything is good to go. So that problem is fixed and we're ready to rock and roll. So a little update, we're gonna be getting this tuned, I think in June. That's when Race IQ should be making it out to Chicago. So I'm really excited for that. And then we'll go to the quarter-mile drag strip and see what this thing runs, see if we can hit like a mid 11-second quarter mile. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already. To all my current subscribers, thank you so much for the support, and I will see everybody in the next video.